wheels are falling off.
Lost art of teenage super. Who are some teenage superheroes? We have Batman Beyond, Spider-Man, Teen Titans, Static Shock. I mean, when's the last time that nigga got anything? Fuck out of here. Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I mean, he's Spider-Man too. So, bitch, that's it.
We are far removed from the days where everywhere you looked, there was a teen superhero in a show, movie, video game, or comic.
What was that?
Where you looked, there was a teen superhero in a show, movie.
Oh, Sky High. I didn't like this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like this movie.
Video game, or
I was in Spider-Man. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, yo. I'm gonna have to do a video on Spider-Man, on Miles Morales Spider-Man, because I be seeing a lot of people be disrespecting my boy. Like, some motherfuckers literally just be saying, oh, Miles Morales Spider-Man only popular because he's black. Cap, nigga. Are you crazy? Yo, there is no way you could watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and say that Miles Morales is only as popular as he is now because he's black, bro. Are you fucking...
comic. They were everywhere, but today you're lucky if you
Invincible.
See a college-aged hero, let alone a high school jit juggling geometry and a 10 p.m. curfew. Studios are avoiding these teens like the plague, seeing DC as seemingly put
Teen Titans. Oh yeah, the Teen Titans movie is coming though. It says James Gunn said February that Anna has been writing a Teen Titans script for a little while. However, in July, confirmed to start writing Teen Titans focus on Wonder Woman. Yeah, that Wonder Woman movie is not coming. So Teen Titans still happening.
Teen Titans movie on hold to focus on a new Wonder Woman movie and other characters. And Marvel could never really figure out if they wanted to title their teen superhero project Young Avengers or Champions. So they said forget it and moved on from the project and went straight into Avengers nostalgia bait. And it's not just Marvel and DC that have an inversion to teenagers nowadays. A lot of companies are distancing themselves.
What was this show called? 17? 16? Was it called 16? Bro, this show? Hold on. Was it called 16? Yeah. Yo. I don't know if niggas know about this show right here. This show, bruh, my sister loved this show. I never cared for it, but I would watch it because she had it on the TV and she always had a remote joint. But bro, this show was so fucking cool for no reason, bro. Like, this is, I don't know how to explain. Like, this show is like real life, like teenagers, bro. Like, it showed them niggas like getting their first jobs, dealing with like give relationships. This is a good show. I'm just saying that. That was a great show, bro.
From the
that
concept,
was a great show.
But for one, WB and Cartoon Network have been pump faking with new Ben 10 content.
I'm not gonna hold you. I don't think I would want a live action Ben 10. Them ugly ass aliens, bro.
For the past couple of years. But what I really want to figure out is whatever happened to the teenage superhero. And look, I know what you're gonna say. But Dreamer, we have Miles Morales. He's a teen. He's a superhero. He's popping. And honestly, all I gotta say is this.
Nigga, please.
What that mean, bitch? Hold on, I'll click off this vid.
Miles is the anomaly in the adult-driven media we get today. What the character has been able to do in a little over a decade shouldn't be minimized though. Movies, video games, and ongoings. He's the shining star for sure, but today's media doesn't reflect the 90s and early 2000s where teen media was nearly the standard to the point where adult heroes were being aged down to either relate to viewers or because of the story potential you could access with having a young and inexperienced
I thought you about to disrespect my boy. I was gonna click off that ass.
Hero. Here's a hot take I don't say out loud too much. I don't really like Spider-Man the animated series. I know. I respect it and all, but
I don't either. If he talking about this one specifically, I'm cool off this too.
For me, as a kid in the 2000s, I gravitated to Spectacular Spider-Man. Even though my cousins had the whole 90s animated series on DVD, I still preferred to see Peter Parker in a high school dynamic.
The great joints. The great joints. I was just talking about this earlier too, bro. Ultimate Spider-Man, the TV show, was good, bro. This show was good. Now, sometimes they did the jokes and shit was like, you know, they pushing it, shit was ass, they doing too much, but bro, this was a good show. It was a good show. I won't say great, but it showed me a lot of new heroes that I never knew. For instance, like Nova. I didn't know Nova until I watched this. What was her name? I forget her name. Iron Fist. Look at, they have Miles in here, bro. Squirrel Girl, bitch. Come on, bro. Cloak and Dagger was in here. I ain't know that. Trash ass niggas. But you feel me? This show was pretty cool though, bro. This was a cool show. And he was working for like the Shield and shit. This show was good. That's another Spider-Man show. Spectacular Spider-Man. You have Spider-Man. You have the Spider-Man TV show. It's just called Spider-Man. This one, yeah, this one right here. This one was cool. This one was cool, bro. This one was cool. Them the only ones I watched. And you got the new joint that came out like last year. I think Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was lit. It was lit. That's lit. That's lit. That's lit. But Spider-Man has some good joints though.
It might have been because I was closer in age with this Spidey. It might have been because of the banger theme song. But what I do know is that this is not the only teen show that I was naturally attracted to. I was personally introduced to Tony Stark as a teenager who was trying to find the 5 Makulan rings while dealing with his father's death and juggling being too smart for high school.
I never watched the Iron Man TV show. Bro, I never watched the Iron Man. I didn't even know he had TV shows. Boy, I never knew he had an animated TV show. 1994? I never knew he had one, bro.
And superheroing. So you can imagine how surprised I was when I popped that Iron Man DVD in and discovered Tony Stark was actually a filthy rich war profiteer. I mean, obviously he got better, but he was far from the character I was introduced to. A borderline alcoholic, a narcissist, a somewhat suave ladies man. That is not the Tony Stark I was used to. I could go on and on about the series that aged down the characters we all famously know to be adults, from the X-Men to Superman twice, but I think it's important.
And you know another thing though, sorry to pause you over again, but I never understood why Nightwing never got a TV show. Well, he did. Nightwing the series? Well, this shit real? Oh nah, this some fan made shit. But I'm surprised that Nightwing never got his own animated show. I think that's something that like he should have, bro. Like I'm not talking like, you feel me, like, you know, he's like Robin and like, you know, other people. I'm talking like his own show, like him in his own. What's his city called? I forget. Hellgrave or something. Whatever that shit
To
called,
understand what makes teenage superheroes so great and a former linchpin to superhero media. Teenagers are in a unique position in life, being in between real responsibility of adulthood and childlike innocence of adolescence. They, for the most part, don't know who they are or who they want to be. Not to generalize, but younger characters seem to move off emotion rather than
this an
logic,
updated Static
which not
Shock?
only leads to a better story from
What's
the
this, Young
mistakes they would
Justice?
inevitably make, but also it intensifies the real-world expectations of teens when you add in superpowers or hero responsibilities. Another key reason teen superheroes mattered so much is the power fantasy baked into the genre from the
I never watched Miss Marvel.
very beginning. Superheroes might be about the spectacle, but they're also about aspiration. In the golden age of comics during the 30s and the 40s, superheroes existed as
The golden age of comics during the 1930s and 40s. See, that's another reason why, like, bro. Like, I'm not trying to read no comics from no 1920s, bro. No 1930s. Like, what?
wish fulfillment for a population drowning in economic collapse, a global war, and social instability. Characters like Superman weren't just strong, they were people's dreams. They represent the fantasies of control in a world
In the mad words.
where most people felt powerless. Teen superheroes tap into that same tradition, just reframed through age. For teenagers, a group with almost no real authority.
You know, I'm learning that in Young Justice, the Speed Force wasn't a thing. Yeah. I don't know how many people knew that. I didn't even know that when I was watching it, but the Speed Force was not a thing in Young Justice. Wally did not have Speed Force. Barry didn't have Speed Force. They were just speedsters. I mean, they were just fast.
And constant expectations. The idea of someone their age wielding power, making decisions, and shaping the world is inherently appealing. It's not about wanting to punch buildings, it's about wanting agency. Teen heroes reflect the fantasy of being seen, respected, and capable before the world tells you that you have to wait your turn. That relatability is crucial. A teenage hero doesn't need to save the world every episode. Sometimes the fantasy is simply being competent at something when everything else feels out of control. School, parents, expectations, identity, all of it becomes heavier when you're young, and superhero stories intensify those pressures in a way adult heroes rarely can. This is why teenage superheroes historically resonated so strongly. They were just smaller versions of adult heroes.
Nah, Young Justice was tough though, man. Young Justice was tough, bruh.
They were reflections
Young
of
Justice
an
was
audience
tough.
experiencing their own version of chaos. Removing teen heroes from the spotlight doesn't just age up the genre, it strips away one of its most accessible and emotionally honest entry points. Ben 10 is one of my favorite teen heroes, well, actually heroes period, but as much as I love the OG series, it's in the series sequel, Alien Force, where
I feel like he did enter everyone's, or obviously he's in everyone's top 3 or whatever. But I go hold you, like, I didn't really watch Ben 10 growing up though. So I don't as weirdly as it sounds, since I loved like animated, like Marvel and DC, superheroes and shit like that. But I never really watched Ben 10, bro. Never really got into it.
To see how Ben starts to grow from his childish ways. As a kid, he was given the most powerful device in the universe, and he decided to do what any kid at his age would do. Kick some alien ass when needed and for personal gain, of course. But through the series, we're able to see glimpses of growth as he is able to learn from the many mistakes he makes. But in Alien Force, we see full-on maturity start to flood into Ben's character. As a 15-year-old, he is without his grandpa for the first time and is facing the biggest threat he had gone up against at this point. In the series, he has the responsibility to not only save the Earth, but befriend former enemies to do so. But like I said before, with teen heroes, he's also
when he was a kid, I was seeing like clips just like he was mad annoying, bro. But it kind of made sense because like he had a fat ass ego, cause like motherfucker couldn't fold him. Niggas couldn't fold him, bro, so he was cocky, bro, but he was an annoying little nigga, though.
Juggling a love life, new responsibilities like his aliens and school. There's a lot of different ways you can go with a teen hero, and this series is a prime example of it. Another teen hero that belongs on my personal Mount Rushmore is Robin. I like Tim Drake from BTAS, basically being a Jason Todd clone, and I love Dick Grayson from the Teen Titans series, but I think personally the best Robin on screen was from Young Justice. He honestly hits more of the criteria and what makes a good teen hero compared to Ben, in my opinion. Robin creates a team with Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Superboy.
Nah, he was cool. He was cool, bro. Young Justice is one of my favorite projects by DC. Damn, man. He was cool, though.
To gain independence and have his own autonomy away from Batman. But he quickly finds out he probably isn't the right guy to lead the team, and even has his own personal epiphany that he can't be Batman. He doesn't have that thing in him that keeps him driving. He isn't rooted in his trauma. He doesn't say it out loud exactly, but he knows that Batman has something broken inside. Something that surprisingly he has fixed in Dick, and therefore he won't become a brooding man fighting the mentally ill and creating.
Damn, you see that Green Lantern special event in 12 minutes?
Contingency.
I know that shit was trash.
Quote unquote friends. But don't get it twisted. This Robin may sound serious, but he is still a kid at the end of the day. He might not be on the menace level of this psychopath double kneeing an op from the top of the skyscraper, but he's got his own aura. His laugh that you hear before you know he's about to fuck your shit up is legendary. He is still very much an immature dude, constantly leaving his friends behind on missions because he's been doing this stuff for the longest, and surprisingly, he is still kinda a ladies' man at this age, at least better than Wally. Originally, Dick Grayson was created to appeal to a teen and child audience as a new hero they could realistically be at their age, compared to wanting to be Superman or Wonder Woman when they grow up. They can be this hero right now. That was the business model of the teenage hero, and the concept just kept growing as the years
went. He clean though, bro. This nigga be moving like he got that Daredevil or something, bro. Got some shit. Niggas stay having shades, boy. You can see. You wearing shades indoors.
From team dynamics to solo ventures.
Nigga, you not blind.
Companies and universes are able to grow an audience that will last for decades. They target young people. A little predatory, I know. Not only.
Bro, what is he having in the background? Is this Andre?
Only because they are at a point in their life where they are still discovering what they like, so it's easier to pitch them a character that is like them. But also, if you get them in now and they like it, you'll have at the least a casual fan forever.
Yo, all
Or
they
you
gotta do is just base a character off me, bro. Everybody go relate to the little nigga, bro. And he gonna be swaggy. He gonna be one of the greatest teen heroes ever made.
can have a new super fan, they could now get introduced to the larger catalog of heroes that you offer. It's a natural nature of the business.
Let me see. If I was a hero, what would my power be? I don't know. My shit probably be fuck around and be Jack Jack. My shit everything, boy. Like, I probably wouldn't have no power. I'd probably be like Bullseye, bro. I'll turn anything into a fucking deadly weapon.
Teens and tweens have always been the target audience, so that you'll have a long time fan, and maybe one
should
day
probably be
they'll
Bullseye.
even introduce
Nah,
their favorite characters.
that
to
wouldn't
the
be
show.
killing, though.
There are people that have a family and a mortgage. They haven't picked up a Spider-Man comic in years. They don't keep up with his week-to-week news like they used to. But once they see that Spider logo on a trailer, on a shirt, or see a toy while shopping for groceries, nostalgia will flood in, and you can bet they'll be there for his next movie or buy a whole new console to be Spider-Man. That's the power a relatable character has over a person, even decades after being.
$250. $250. Black Friday. Black Friday. That's when I had got my PS4. That's when I had got my PS4. That's when I had got my PS4. That's when I had got my PS4.
First introduced to the guy. But today, those new teens are hard to find because of how the Marvel and DC universes are built specifically to not promote growth and change. I want to break this down actually. So here you have the first era of
It's a good line right here.
teen heroes. Your Dick Graysons, your Peter Parkers, your X-Men's. These are the teens
Why didn't you say Wally? You know what? I'm
of the
slide.
60s and before. So
I'ma let it
we'll
slide.
just call this the golden age to keep it simple. These characters got to grow into new identities, new roles. Some even had families like Wally West. Dick went to college, Speedy gained and beat a drug addiction, all the things that are not so uncommon for growing up. These teens today are at their oldest around a late 20-something and have their character progression from child to adult written thoroughly for decades. This is good. They have not only grown into household names and created some stories that people will forever hold sacred and maybe even nostalgic, but they grow into new characters that could relate even more with a present day reader or viewer that they acquired when they were a teen. The next era starts somewhere in the 80s and goes through most of the 90s. Here we're introduced to the brand new teen characters: Tim Drake, Jubilee, Static, Impulse, Superboy, and more. Let's just title this.
Yo, I ain't gonna hold you. I don't really know too much about Impulse. All I know, what is he? Grandson of who? Barry?
The Silver Age. These characters were not made to just simply replace the previous X-Men or Teen Titans or other random superheroes. They had their own individual purposes, and they went on to be a part of iconic stories that some debate are better than the previous teen heroes. But the problem with the era starts to rear its ugly head when you fast forward to the present day.
Bald nigga with a do-rag geeking out.
And these characters are in the same positions they started in 3 decades ago. By this time, their teenage predecessors were breaking free of their teenage bliss and started to mature into something new. But here, some of these characters are still going by a name that has already been passed down again and again. They even draw these characters younger than they ever looked just to solidify the fact that they are stuck. But I won't say it's not for a lack of trying. Tim Drake had been forcibly kicked out of the role of Robin after Bruce died and Dick took on the Cal, and thought it best that he mentor the actual child that needs guidance as his Robin instead of a grown man he sees as a peer as of now. But Tim wasn't having that, so he just slapped a red in front.
That shit is trash. I'ma just keep it a stack. That shit is trash.
of the Robin and put on a sick cowl and began to search the world for any clues that could bring back Bruce, because he didn't think Bruce was actually killed. And what do you know, he was right. But even though Bruce was back, he didn't beg for his job back. He had built new relationships, came across new foes. It seemed like he was starting to become his own man until the demon known as Barry Allen reset the universe. In the New 52, Tim was retconned to have always been Red Robin from the jump, to I guess justify Bruce having a new team partner after his last one bit the bullet. Due to fast forwarding his development, the only thing left for the character was actually a regression, being the leader of the Teen Titans as Red Robin in a much less aura-filled suit, I might add. And when DC tried to correct the mistakes they made with their new universe in Rebirth, it made Tim that much worse. He looks the youngest he's ever looked despite supposedly being 20, maybe 21. And if he's not Red Robin, he is Robin. This is who's serving here though, I can't lie, but Tim is caught in a crazy cycle of regression that he can't escape, but he is not the only one. His best friends Bart and Connor are also similarly in their own cycle of regression. Bart debuted as the fast-mouthed grandson of Barry Allen in 1994, and his progression as a character had been going well. He started as a side character early on in Flash comics, and soon upgraded to having his own solo series, to then even have a whole team with Tim and Connor, where he started to mature slowly, very slowly.
Yeah, I remember him coming in Injustice, bro.
But mature he did, and this series led up to John's New Teen Titans, a series that combined the old Titans and the remainder of Young Justice to form a new Teen Titans team.
Yo, bro, hold on.
And around here is where his progression kind of stalls, because after Infinite Crisis in 2006, Barry, Wally, Bart, and even Jay race into the Speed Force to imprison Superboy Prime, also known as the King Von of the DC Universe. Jay didn't fully enter the Speed Force because he was too slow and old and couldn't keep up, but the rest of them seemingly imprisoned themselves to save the universe. But Barry and Wally were able to force Bart out into the regular world, but this action seemingly angered the Speed Force, and now all speedsters couldn't access their speed unless they were a metahuman not connected to it like Jay. But Bart, now aged to around 21 for some reason, was able to access it, even though it was very painful as the Speed Force was seeking retribution and wanted its prisoner back. But thanks to Star Labs, they were able to use Barry's old suit to manipulate the Speed Force in a way to where it doesn't hurt Bart, and because of this he became the new Flash. But the thing is, people weren't messing with it, because first of all, he had only became Kid Flash a couple years earlier. To me, that's not a big deal because it showed just that he was maturing, but for others, they thought he didn't spend enough time in the role to justify his ascension to Flash. And another point to support that argument was,
damn, I ain't even know bro became the Flash,
that he was aged up from 16 to a young adult to do just that. He was, for all intents and purposes, speed running to the Flash mantle. It also didn't help that in his actual series, The Fastest Man Alive, he was kind of a bummer. He was not the energetic and enthusiastic Bart people were used to. He was a lot more emo and sad, but who can blame him? The thing he uses to save people wants to kill him, and has already killed his grandfather, cousin, and mentor. In my opinion, the nigga can be a little doomy and gloomy. It's not like it was gonna last. But due to a sales crash around issue 6, DC panicked and ordered Bart to be killed to usher the GOAT back in, but the way he
oh wow, so they just wow, okay, great.
died was just
Peachy.
brutal, basically being stripped of the Speed Force by his evil twin, and the rogues blasted him with fire, ice, and electricity. But because they took the Speed Force out of Bart for some reason, the Speed Force spit out Wally and his family back on Earth, meaning everyone involved with his cousin's murder was gonna have to answer to the biggest crash out in the Flash family. But first, he decided to deal out a fate worse than death for the mastermind behind this whole plot, Inertia. At this point, due to his many years studying the Speed Force and all the time he spent in it, Wally has a crazy amount of control.
So they killed off Wally, Barry, right? They killed them off. Let Bart have his run for a bit. Seeing it wasn't doing good. Fuck that. Fuck that. Let's kill him and bring the ones who matter back. So they killed him. They brought back Wally and Barry.
over it, siphoning speed off and into others when needed, and he uses this ability to siphon all the speed from inertia, making him a statue in the Flash Museum. It takes him 100 years just to blink, and he will be forced to stare at his rival, the man he could never be. Sorry for the rant, but I really love this story, even though it pretty much derails Bart from here on out. Because after this, the Legion resurrected him, and he became Kid Flash again because he's not in his adult body anymore for some reason. Nothing of note really happened to him. In the reboot, he was replaced by this imposter Bartor, while he was again conveniently stuck in the Speed Force to be properly introduced in DC Rebirth. He has been a part of cool stories, I guess, Flash War, 1 Minute War. They even brought the gang back together and reformed Young Justice, but at this point, it feels like the war. They even brought the gang back together and reformed Young Justice.
Who is? This Superboy?
But at this point, it feels like these characters are just afterthoughts. I mean, I didn't fully dive into Connor Kent's story because it has debatably less relevance than Bart's, but basically he was killed by Superboy Prime in the same event that forced Bart into being Flash. Like I said, Superboy Prime, King Von of DC Universe, and nothing of note happened after this until the reboot, where just like Bart, he was replaced by an imposter, Kon-El, a clone of an alternate son of Superman, and he was brought back officially in Rebirth after being trapped in Gemworld, where again, nothing of note has really happened to him, except joining Young Justice again, I guess. And why nothing of note has happened for these characters is because they shouldn't be this young anymore, or at least acting this young. Their teen spots have been taken over, if not once, but twice, and there still has not been much progression in their characters for decades. Marvel and DC chose to forget that they have to progress some characters forward to let others feel like they belong. Like Wonder Woman is on her 4th Wonder Girl, and only one of them has kinda striked out on her own and adopted her own name. Cassie is stuck in purgatory with her Young Justice teammates as she has been replaced over and over again, but still keeps the same role she's had since the 90s. Even going back to the Super Family, John was Superboy for a time and looked like he was going to do some fun things with the mantle, even though Connor was still Superboy during the time. This just felt right though. Son of Superman fighting alongside his dad and forming the Super Sons with the son of the other half of the world's finest. It seemed like this would be a cool dynamic to have him flesh out over a decade or so, or they can just age him up into a near adult, strip the title of Superboy away from him and call him Superman because he's 17, and who would walk around calling themselves a boy at that age? That's kind of childish, right? The Silver Age of characters not being able to mature and develop as characters has affected the Bronze Age or modern age of teens in the worst way possible because they have no idea what to be and how to age. Most of these teens now are aged genetically to be 12 or 13 from the start, so they don't have to explain how this kid is almost the age of this kid who has been around for decades. It's to the point where Bruce is talking to Damian about college. The 10-year-old we were introduced to almost 20 years ago is about to go to college, which is absolutely fine in my book, only if the Robin that predates him by 20 years wasn't also talking about going to college. The main issue is obvious to me. The way these universes are set up to always have their marked characters stay in the age range of their early to late 30s is ruining progression for these characters. They can't age, and their so-called successors are forced to either lap them or be pushed into irrelevancy. A universe cannot survive like this, and that's why I would say just start letting your characters age again. Not too much, obviously, because you know people just hate old people nowadays. You see the DCU castings, they hate them niggas. But I think the Trinity should at least be in their mid to late 40s. But the universe mechanics are not the only reason the teen heroes are faltering. I've discovered 3 reasons as to why teenage superheroes just aren't hitting the same in American media as they used to, and the first one is us, the consumer. The audience for superheroes have historically been teens and tweens, but since maybe the 90s, we've seen a boom in more adult readers and collectors. And most importantly, with the advent of superhero movies in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of adults became fans of these characters, and therefore the industry obviously wants to cater to their audience that has more money making potential. That's why you will rarely rarely see Spider-Man in high school for too long in films until recently with the Home trilogy, even though that boy was never going to class. And also, fun fact, Peter was only in high school for like 30 issues in 616 continuity. So should we even be counting him as a teen hero for real? I don't know, let me know in the comments. But most recently, one of the newest teen heroes that DC recently created, Jaime Reyes, received a movie, and even in that movie, he was aged up to be a college graduate. The market is always going to cater to the consumer, and right
I ain't never watched Blue Beetle. I'm cool off him. I liked him in Young Justice though.
now the consumer just so happens to be the largest around the ages of 25 and 45. Another reason why I think that teen heroes are falling off is because these writers are old. No offense, by the way, because I love older writers. I love Mark Waid, one of my favorite writers from his 90s Flash, to even write now things like World's Finest. He's amazing. But when you have older people at the helm, they seem not to focus so much on the teen hero. But even the newer writers that are breaking through in the industry in the last couple of years are in their 30s to 40s, which again, I would like to say is fine because their stories do have a youthful feel and are very topical to the world we live in today. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the rising stars like Dennis Camp, Daniel Warren Johnson, and Ram V are seemingly in their mid to late 30s. The new voices of the industry make incredible, thought-provoking stories, but that doesn't mean their visions come from a quote-unquote young perspective. Considering in the 90s, writers and artists who were the quote-unquote superstars of the decade were usually on the younger side. You could feel the youthful energy in the comics at the time, but personally, I don't think it plays a huge factor in the relegation of teen heroes. But I would kind of be dismissive if I didn't mention that this could be a contributing factor, but ultimately, I think the biggest issue is the fact that shonen anime has filled the niche for the past decade or so in a
Is that good takes? I didn't even think the anime would play a factor in this video.
major way, and that's where the potential viewers, readers, and consumers are located. Not saying they aren't interested in what's going on in Western media or anything like that, because believe me, you can like multiple things from different regions and companies, but the fact is the American market sees this genre of hero is filled at a better capacity outside of their reach. They can try to make stories centered around teenage characters if they want to, but the story will always end weirdly or simply not progress because of how they built their universes. They can craft beautiful movies for the one time or make a show, but they'll never completely flood the market with teens like they did before. When mangas and anime like My Hero, Demon Slayer, and Naruto aren't locked down to restrictive guidelines, they're able to take advantage of the market you took for granted and grow to the point where they dwarf you in sales. But that's a convo for another day. Actually, a topic I covered last year, which you can watch right up there if you want to. I don't expect the big two to fix this problem anytime soon or focus on their teen heroes outside comics for a while, but I can only hope publishers.
Now that I'm thinking about, do we think it'd be another company that will in the future become as big as Marvel or DC? Cause like comic book, you know what I'm saying? Like comic book movies, comic book TV shows, and comic books in general, Marvel and DC are the top ones. I guess Invincible probably, cause like the TV show is good. A lot of people know about Invincible, even if they haven't watched, they still know about Invincible now. But after the show ends, though, like, you know, they probably not gonna do anything else, like make another thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know though. I think Invincible, but Invincible isn't as big as like Marvel or DC. But they're big though.
Like Image, Dark Horse, and IDW help more creators to create more teen stories, because it seems like DC will always send mixed signals. Having Tim seemingly quit being Robin next month, we'll see where that goes. Impulse having a whole event right now that might affect him and Barry retroactively, we'll see. John Kent seemingly having two versions of himself in the universe, a Superboy and a Superman version, one in a Titans book, one in Superman Unlimited while Superman is gone. It's just getting confusing, and we won't know if any of the things they do with these characters will really stick in the long run. Also, I couldn't really fit this in naturally when I was talking about teen characters not aging anymore, but did you know Jubilee had a kid? That was a dragon? that just
Nah.
disappeared? Like, that's crazy. Anyway, for the big two, teen heroes aren't really gone or forgotten, more just stuck and frozen in time. But what do you think about the state of teen heroes in American media? Tell me and everyone in the comments.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of non-existent, you know? The biggest and best one we have right now is Miles Morales. He ain't gonna be around long. I mean, he got the comics going. He got his last movie. What's that? Next year, he get his last movie trilogy gonna end. I don't know if they're gonna do like TV shows. You know, he should be getting a lot. He should be coming into the MCU though. I do believe. But I don't know. Cause what they gonna do with regular Spider-Man though?
Leave a like if you enjoyed. And I
Like
want to
Peter
thank all the new
Spider-Man.
people who subscribed recently because we just hit
Oh,
3,000
no.
subscribers, which is crazy. I started the year at 2,500 subs, and my goal
Hard.
this year was 5,000. So we're off to a
Hard.
great start. And if you want to help
Hard.
me reach that goal, be sure.
Hard. Alright.